Dudes, what's happening? It's Trent. Now, it's been a little while. It's been a little while since I've done a Wacom tablet review, but I was very pleased that they reached out to me recently and they were like, hey man, we really want you to try out our latest tech. We really want you to showcase, some of the features of the new Cintiq 16. They sent this to me. That's my disclaimer so that you know, but I've always loved Wacom products. I use generally in Intuos Pro, so this is going to be kind of neat for the portability of the Cintiq 16. I'm very curious to see how it stacks up against that Intuos Pro and how it stacks up against other competitive products in the similar price range for the 16-inch display that you can draw on, okay? So I'm going to do a quick unboxing and then we're going to do a little bit of drawing on this thing and I'm going to showcase some of the features and talk about some of the drawbacks, some of the things that are going on with this thing. All right, let's do it. So Wacom's packaging is always top notch, but the product itself is really what we're here for. And as you can see, it's a very nice build. You've got these little legs on the back. It's not an adjustable height on this, but it does give you a firm angle. It's about a 20-degree angle. As you can see, the screen itself doesn't have too much glare. I'm not seeing like a mirror effect in it. It's got a nice light weight to it. It's about the weight you would expect for a 16-inch display. Obviously, in the box, you're going to find this cord, and it is basically an HDMI that splits into the power adapter, a USB plug, and an HDMI in for plugging it into your computer. After all, this is essentially a combination of a display and a Wacom tablet. Another handy feature is this slide-in pen holster, and that actually detaches and you can just pop it in. You can see the slot there, and it's actually on the other side as well. So if you're a lefty, this allows you to flip. And the fact that it doesn't have the buttons, the quick key buttons, can actually be to the benefit of somebody who might be a lefty, for instance. I'm going to also go ahead and do the setup here. As you can see, you can plug in it's one wire into the device in the back here, which actually goes through this little bit of a hook system. This prevents it from having too much wiggling going on and breaking the connections. So it's actually nice that they have this hook system for that HDMI connection. Now, if your laptop has an HDMI input, it's no problem. But if you don't, then you're going to need something like an adapter. This is one that I recommend. I will put a link to this item on Amazon in the description below. It's basically got an HDMI in and a USB in. So all modern MacBook Pros only have the USB-C inputs. So you're going to need something to convert that HDMI and those USB cables into USB-C inputs. As you know, Apple's efforts to streamline everything requires that the rest of the world buy adapters to work with Apple devices. Now, they did also send me an adjustable stand that mounts to the back of this device. I've gone ahead and done an installation of that already, but this allows you to basically just get more angles of elevation if you wanted a more extreme angle, if you want to sit more upright, but this does cost extra. This isn't a standard thing, and it also does add to the weight of the whole setup. All right, now we can get to drawing. And now first things first, inevitably somebody's going to ask, do I need to plug this into a computer? Yeah, buddy, this is just a display that you can draw on. It is not a self-contained computer. If you want one of those bad boys, they make the Mobile Studio Pro, and that bad boy runs for like $3,500. So unless you're globetrotting or going out all the time, which not too many people are, right now anyway, I'd say go with something like this, especially if you got like a home computer setup. So what this is a display that you draw on, and that means you're going to have a computer, you're going to have either a Mac or Windows machine, and you're going to have software. That means you're going to have Sketchbook Pro or Krita or any of those art programs. Sketchbook Pro is free, but I tend to use Photoshop because that's what I've used for the last 20 years, working on big AAA games and working on the comic book that I'm working on right now. All right, let's talk about the heat. Does it get hot? I used it for, I've used it for about a few hours at a time, and I would say that it does not get any change in temperature on the screen after 2 hours of use. Beyond that, I don't know. I usually get up and go for a walk after 2 hours of painting. But I would say that temperature-wise, this is a lot better than what you would get from the Cintiq Companion, for instance, because that's a computer. This is just running a display. So it's not running like a processor behind the screen or anything like that. So it's not going to get super hot. It's not going to get hot at all, actually. I was really surprised to find that Wacom did not include one of those handy pro gloves. I mean, how in the heck is anybody supposed to know that I'm a pro artist, man? Again, though, I did not have any problem with my hand getting sticky across the screen or anything like that. It had like some smooth action going across it. There's no texturing to it, though, so it is like drawing on glass. Literally, it is a glass monitor display. It does not have a lot of give, unlike many of the XP pens that you might be used to, for instance. There's like a cushion to it, and the pen kind of like, I guess you'd say you can feel the spring. With this, there's none of that. You don't really feel the springiness in the brush. If you're used to working with a Wacom, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it is a comfortable place to be if you're used to working with a Wacom. In terms of the quick keys, now I never really use quick keys on the side of a screen. If that's a deal breaker for you, there is another device that you can get for Wacom products that will work as quick keys. It is also programmable, but I would honestly, if you're really hooked on using quick keys, I don't advise you to get this particular Cintiq because it just doesn't have any. And there's an advantage and a disadvantage to that. On the disadvantage is that, of course, obviously, you're going to have your hand on a keyboard for your quick keys, such as, Command or Option or Shift or any of those things, which works for me. I mean, that's my standard go-to anyway. For the advantage is that if you're a lefty, you can just flip it right side over. You can also know that you're pretty much using more of the screen real estate here. This device will fit into a backpack. I can fit it right in there next to my laptop. It's just a little bit like an inch or two bigger than my laptop. Although I will say, if you're going out to like a cafe to work or something like that, there's a lot of wires with this. It's got the 3 wires coming out of the top. Everyone's going to ask about parallaxing. Dude, I did not notice any parallaxing, but I tend to draw with when I calibrate, I tend to calibrate with the pointer just slightly off center so that I can see where I'm leaving my marks. And that's a personal preference. For the most part, I felt like I was just drawing on paper, but with, all the digital tools that you have available to you. Me personally, I like something like this because I like using the keyboard for quick keys. I don't necessarily ever use those little buttons that you find on the side of the Intuos that are pre-programmable or on the larger Cintiqs. I don't even ever use any of the programmable buttons that come on these tablets. I always work on the keyboard because it's standard, it's universal. If I go and work on somebody else's machine, I know my way around. If you're using all those programmable quick keys and things, then you can't just pick up and go and work on somebody else's machine. Or if one of your laptops is, out of commission and you're working on your other laptop, you don't have to reprogram your programmable quick key buttons every time. Speed or lag. Obviously, Wacom's been in the game for a long time. No speed problems. It's as fast as you can draw. This does not have that issue that some of their competitor tablets have, where if you're drawing really fast marks, some of them get skipped entirely. No way, not with Wacom. As I've said before, Wacom is the Ferrari of drawing tablets. You're basically paying for a premium, but you're getting a premium device. If you go into a video game development studio, they're all using Wacom tablets. That's just the industry standard right now. I recently talked to a couple of my friends that work over at Riot. I was like, hey man, is anybody working on iPads or, Surface Pros or anything? And they're like, no, man. I mean, maybe in meetings you'll have somebody doodling away. But for the most part, you're working in Photoshop on a Wacom. That is the industry standard for people that are working on high-end AAA games. And don't get angry at me about saying that. This is a statistical fact. That's not to say that you can't, do Instagram artwork on any tablet. In fact, there are Instagram artists that work on paper and then just take photos. That's fine too. But if you're going to go into pro, game development environments, you're going to need to know those two. You're going to need to know your way around Photoshop, and you're going to need to be comfortable with using a Wacom. However, you can use cheaper tools if you're a beginner and you're just getting started. If you've never done digital art before, this product is probably too advanced and too expensive. And I would recommend starting out with the Wacom has a device called the One, which is a weird name. It used to be called the Bamboo, I think. Similar type of a product. It's only $70. You don't get to draw on the screen, but it's a way to get used to working with a pen, tablet, a stylus, and making marks in a digital program, such as Sketchbook Pro, which is free. So certainly that begs the question of who is this for? And I'm a professional. I've been making art for video games for 20 years now. And this is, this is something that I would recommend to pros, and it's also something that I would recommend to beginners if you have the budget for it. And I definitely recommend it to people that are in the intermediate level if you're used to working on an Intuos Pro and you're looking to be able to draw on the screen, or maybe if you don't want a big, huge setup, but you want something that's a little bit more portable. Maybe if you go to visit your friend's place a lot, you're drawing over at your friend's place, you don't want to lug around a big 24-inch screen. Something like this fits into your backpack. It's just got a few extra wires, but it's good for chilling on the couch and drawing as well. And I have been doing a bit of that as well. It's great for doing comic books, because if you're used to working on paper or seeing what you're drawing, I mean, you get lost in your piece when you're doing this. Me personally, like I said, I've gotten so used to drawing off to the side that when I'm drawing on the screen with something like this, with this level of pixel density and with this level of vibrant colors, it really does feel immersive. You really feel like you're getting lost in the painting. One thing I did want to mention is that they've updated the pen. It has extra direction and angle sensitivity so that you can kind of create a little bit of a chisel effect and rotation. So it's a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more accurate. But speaking of drawing comic books, I thought that I would try a little experiment. I rotated the stand that they had sent me, and I tried to set up my Photoshop vertically so that I could see the entire page. And actually it was very nice to be able to look at the entire image, the entire page, because pages for comic books are vertical. But of course, most of our monitors and displays are horizontally, cinema view. And so this was really nice to be able to take a look at the whole page so that I can look at the entire page holistically without, shrinking it down into a tiny little thumbnail. So it's really nice to be able to do that. It's really simple to set this up too, by the way. If you're on a Mac, you can just rotate the display 270 degrees, and you got yourself a comic book sized page that you can paint on, in full view. Of course, the only problem with something like this is that if you're trying to record your screen, because if you're like a YouTuber or something, like somebody that you might know, unfortunately, then you end up with screen recordings that look like this, which isn't a horrible thing, because then, yeah, you can have the over-the-shoulder camera and all that fun stuff. But the problem is that if you just want to showcase the artwork in a widescreen cinematic view, one, it's going to confuse the viewers, like, why is his screen vertical, without seeing me over the shoulder doing it. It looks a little bit, well, it's just hard to present your work if you're doing widescreen cinema style imagery on a YouTube channel, because screens and televisions are generally, horizontal. But if you're not a YouTuber and you just want to look at your whole image of your comic book page, your vertical setup comic book page, well, hey man, it's perfect for that. Oh my gosh. So something that should be brought up here is that this is the Wacom Cintiq 16. This is not the Wacom Cintiq 16 Pro, which is different. The specs are different. So looking at the specs here, we can see it's a 15.6-inch screen, and it's rocking 1920 by 1080 pixels, which I noticed while I was working on this, because I'm used to working on a MacBook Pro, which has a Retina display. Now, if we look at the specs for the Cintiq 16 Pro, suddenly a bigger picture literally begins to unfold. I mean, here we can see that it's got a resolution of 3840 by 2160, and that's all happening in the same 15.6-inch display space. So you've got a higher pixel density, so you're not going to see any pixels. There wouldn't be any difference in the speed of the device. There wouldn't be any difference in the pressure sensitivity of the pen. They're both using the Wacom Pen 2 stylus, but there is that resolution difference. And also, I noticed that the Wacom 16 Pro comes with a one-cord USB-C. So it's like one cord out from the USB-C to your USB-C of your MacBook, which is super sweet and efficient. And I really want to get my hands on one of these, because it also probably comes with a Pro Glove. Some people care about touch sensitivity. I usually don't, but the Cintiq 16 standard does not have it. Guess what does, though? Yeah, Cintiq 16 Pro absolutely has it. So in conclusion here, I'd say that if you're a intermediate or a college student, or you're a pro, but you just need a second device that you can kind of chill on the couch while you paint, this might be great for you if you're cost efficient, but if you have no problem spending the money, straight up just go for the Pro. In fact, straight up just go for that bad boy, that 32-inch monster. Of course, I don't think that would be too comfortable on a couch, for instance. I certainly hope that this review was informative for you in helping you to make your decision. If you're curious about the artwork that you watched me do in this video, I'm making a comic book. I've been a concept artist in video games for a long time, but I'm getting back to my roots. And I'm launching an Indiegogo comic book called Creed. This was the very first comic that I ever made back when I was 16 years old. I'm coming back to my roots, man. And I got an Indiegogo campaign going up in January on Indiegogo. So you're looking for art techniques or tips or tricks on how to develop your art career? Well, you don't have to go much further than this channel right here. I do normally 1 to 2 videos a week, but I'm doing a little bit more than that here right now in January. So don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you all mañana. Ciao, baby. Oh, yeah.